Thing is, Obama says he's going to end it on his watch, and then he fights it. He spends money fighting. Oh, I
Well,
want to get it
he
through
said
the
he was going to
Congress.
end the war. He said a lot of shit that he didn't mean. He said he was going to tax the rich. When did he ever do that? He didn't tax the rich anytime I seen.
Exactly, but it's a pretty blatant example of total opposite hypocrisy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Obama is nothing. He's not, okay, he's not George Bush, but he's not anything. I mean, he's nothing. He's a zero.
Well, exactly. It's better. It's a stem of the flow to a certain degree, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he's like a dead Hitler. You know, he's not Hitler, but you know, he's dead Hitler.
I'm actually surprised by how many people are outraged by the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, in contrast to the extension of the Patriot Act. I mean, these laws about Don't Ask, Don't Tell only affect a small number of people, a strong minority, but the Patriot Act really does affect every United States citizen, and no one seems to care. That kind of bothers me.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Feingold's the only one that voted against it in the first place, and but on the other hand, it's a good thing because, you know what, it was 10 years ago, the majority was way against allowing homosexuals, and you can't really trust the polling, but, you know, I mean, at least the polling is showing that now the majority is for it. It's like these are the same people. It's not like these people died or a huge number of young people grew up. I mean, I don't understand these people change their views so quickly, but, you know, so maybe they'll change back, or maybe it's a false poll, but I'm kind of happy that the polling is showing that people are actually for it, which, why is what's-in-face against it? I don't get it.
Why, you know, it's always this piece of something, though, you know what I mean? Because, again, there's a real problem, and, you know, some of it's got to be dealt with somewhere. And you know, I mean, frankly, I want a more secure identity. I want to be able to catch criminals. I want to be able to, you know, I want people to be accountable for their behavior. So part of me wants some way to, yeah, you know, people should, what the, I'm not afraid of somebody listening to my conversations. I'm really not.
All right, but how does that fall into like the don't tell deal? Like you don't want somebody, you know.
Well, I'm just saying it's one of these things where it's like you decriminalize something, okay? So you decriminalize homosexuality in the military, and you make rules about fraternization and what people can do. So you're basically saying don't ask, don't tell, but you're just saying okay, it's in principle, don't be homo. But, yeah, you can be homo, but just don't be homo in everybody's face.
Yeah, well, I actually served in the military, and what I would say is, all right, listen, if you're gay or whatever you are, then, all right, then whatever. Who gives a shit? I honestly really never gave a fuck about that whole like gay thing.
Well, then you're not getting reality. Then see, Bandit. Normal human beings have relationships. Other human beings have relationships with other human beings. That's what normal people do. You see, they have these things called relationships, and they stick their wieners and things, and they do things with their penises. You don't get any of that. I understand because you don't have any relationship with a penis. Okay, but this is what happens in the real fucking world. And then you know what happens? People get jealous. They start shooting each other. They go through all kinds of stuff because they're having these relationships with their penises, okay? And so basically the military has to say, no penises in the military, really. It's just saying all the penises have to stand down.
No, well, that has to do with people's. Well, that has to do with their own. That has to do with those people's insecurities.
The point is you make fucking homosexuality open in the military. You're opening yourself up to all fucking kinds of fucking relationship problems in the military, and you can't do that. It's not practical. It'll be very uncost effective.
Okay, Gary, I think there's
a bunch of people that are insecure about themselves.
Bandit, come on. Okay, Gary.
No, I'm not gonna Bandit. Come on.
Shut up. Bandit, shut up.
You know, it's fine if the room host wants to go every other time. That is necessary to make the room function. But come on, I'm not one of the guys trying to shut you up. I'm fine to hear your opinion, and more than, you know, when you're in the, but come on. So Gary, there's a grain of truth in what you're saying, but it's the same argument for not letting women in the military. So, I mean, do you extend it to that or no?
No, it was a problem. It's still a problem, women in the military, isn't it? Come on, the G.I. Jane scenario, you know, where that stupid girl got kidnapped and everything, and all the old soldiers, as you really understand the story, they all died trying to protect her. Okay? I mean, yeah, it's not really practical to have men and women serving in infantry units together. Get real. You're in a foxhole. You might be dead tomorrow. You're telling me you're not going to fuck the bitch? Come on, get real.
But what about, you know, separate but equal and all?
Well, I'm saying it's all fine. If women, there's women that are just hard ass. They want to go out and kill shit. Yeah, give them their own little troop, Girl Scouts or whatever you want to call it, you know, and then give them guns and helicopters and F-15s. I'm just saying there's a practical reality here. You can't have relationship. It's we're addicted, okay? It's like putting the heroin in, you know, right in their laps. It's just stupid. They're not gonna be good soldiers if they're all stoned on heroin.
Well, is it the worst thing if people get distracted by real life human urges in the middle of war?
Well, I'm just saying, what would have happened in World War II, okay? If you had a bunch of little girls running around with the soldiers, they're all protecting the girls, they're all getting shot to shit because they're not paying attention to doing their killing thing, they're doing their protecting thing. All right, it just ain't gonna work. I'm just saying it's just not practical, okay? I'm not saying women shouldn't be allowed to do it. I'm just saying that we have to create infrastructure that makes that practical. Because it's not practical to just say, man, woman, same thing, doesn't matter. We'll put them in this life or death crisis circumstance and expect them not to get emotional. Bullshit.
Well, at least you're consistent.
All right, you gotta separate men.
I think we should just take those problems on, but I admit there are those problems, and at least you're consistent, so that's good.
Well, I'm just saying, could you imagine? Come on, let's just take the men in this room. We put us all in a little troop together, and then we put one woman in the mix. All right, and then we go, there's gonna be big fucking problems. Come on. Gets to sit next to the girl. You know, I got some extra shiny bullets. You know, I'll give it to the girl. I'll give her my shiny bullets. I mean, come on, it would just be a joke.
No, I think there's a point at which people do just have this breakthrough, and that's a person that's trying to save your life, and you're trying to save their life, and you treat them like they're on their own, and yet you're going to try to help them like any other person. But, you know, maybe that's idealism.
Yeah, I just saying, you know,
my mom was
she's got, you know, come on, if she's got the eyes and she's looking at me with them little eyes and shit, yeah, no, come on, I'm gonna sacrifice. You're gonna be really easy for me to sacrifice, you know, compared to, you know, the chick. Recovering, your mic's open again. It's okay, because no one's talking at the moment, except for me. Thank you very much.
Well, see, okay, let me just, I'm not playing devil's advocate because, but since I do see the truth, the grain of truth of what you're saying, I mean, look, these guys' life is threatened. I'm not sure that they'll protect somebody that they don't perceive as fundamental to their own survival. I think that's more fundamental than the rest.
I'm going to take like a Patton-esque view of military thing, you know what I'm saying? You want soldiers who are distracted by nothing, okay? You want them motivated to do one fucking thing, and that's make the other fucker die for his country. All right? You don't want them. You don't want them thinking about their buddies or thinking about this or thinking about, no, you want them focused on their fucking job. And I'm just saying any extra distractions are gonna, you know, you got guys and well, whatever. I won't even get into it.
Military like brainwashing or whatever is a lot about creating this attitude of fraternity where you're gonna have this bond, irrational even, with other men that you want to help survive.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're going to have an army tomorrow, Pyro, if you're going to have an army tomorrow, what do you want? You know, you want a bunch of Carl Sagans, or do you want a bunch of Arnold Schwarzeneggers? You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on. You want men who are just completely cyborg focused on the job to get done and want to get it over with and have nothing else on their mind but getting those other people dead so they can go the fuck home and get some pussy.
Well, I'm kind of biased because I am for subverting the art of war, and so I'm kind of biased.
Well, I'm just saying I have a warrior mentality, so part of me says, you know, yeah, I know how I would be in war, and I know the last thing you want to do is distract me with a fucking woman.
Gary, what about these?
I think Gary, Gary, that would actually be the whole like great point. You throw a woman into that whole like cyborg, like we don't have anything else to do but kill people. You throw a chick into that mix, it'll fuck everything up.
But it
Like, get it over quicker, you know, just get it over quicker.
I mean, there was a time when even
even
racial integration had the same argument. It's like, oh, but they won't feel this bond. Or blah,
and I
blah, blah.
understand the argument. I'm just saying it's a practical, economic. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying it's going to be expensive, and it's going to create a bunch of negative consequences that are going to make the functionality of the military. It's going to diminish its capacity, not increase its capacity. And I'm just saying, if the damn thing's going to exist, I want it to be competent, not incompetent. I mean, why have extra waste? I'm just saying it creates friction, which creates waste.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, sure, but maybe not.
Well, I'm for common standards, you know, make the women do just as much push-ups, or make, you know, and I think that's the way you'd weed that out.
Well, I'm just saying, the easiest way to weed it out is just to do the simple. Let's just acknowledge the differences, have the segregation, and just deal with it that way.
Well, hey,
Gary, what about the Soviet Union during World War II? Did not segregate.
And she can get into the military. If not, I tell her to get the fuck out.
Gary, what about the Soviet Union?
I'm sure there's examples of women who fought for the French and the women who fought for the Germans. I'm sure there's women. I'm just saying that if you make it part of the structure, maybe Israel can get away with that kibbutz kind of crap. I'm just saying that I think it just facilitates and instigates and makes easier a bunch of emotional and relationship problems that are going to be completely destructive to the functionality of your military force.
The grain of truth of that is dependent.
But I think the French was a pretty poor example.
The thing is, it is culturally dependent, right? Because like the Scandinavians have no problem with their merchant marine training ships having men and women, and they change in the same and bunk in the same space, and you know, a lot of it is
yeah, well, I'd like
American.
I'd like to see the reality show. Okay, I'd like to see the reality show because I'd like to see how exactly that's pulled off. All right, because you know, unless you're giving them some sort of saltpeter or something.
Well, the way it works out is, yeah, they have sex and whatnot, but they don't have it in the middle of combat. You know, I mean, that's the way it works
Like to
out.
go next
Yeah,
when
human
there's a
nature
chance.
works the same way.
Yeah, well, just wait till they get to combat, I guess. Wait till they start fighting over and this and well, whatever. I'm just saying, you know, that sounds really pretty in theory, but I'm just saying in practice, I'm just saying I bet you it would be more efficient if they didn't do it. That, I guess, would be my argument.
Well, I agree with you there. It would be more efficient, but I think in the long run, you know, you can work it out and make it just as efficient. But yeah, there's a setback to efficiency. At some point, you might have to have the separate quarters or who knows what. But, I mean, going back to the don't ask, don't tell aspect of this, but I guess I think it's a worthwhile cost. But
I'd say it's almost not, because I want the military to be lousy. I want it to be an uncomfortable, cruddy job. I want it to be a sacrifice. I don't want them to be having a regular life in the military. No, fuck that shit. You know, don't encourage them to be in the military. Make it shitty.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in here. The U.S. Navy did a study, and they found that Navy pilots were far more responsive to a feminine voice, female voice, you know, like about to, you know, impact ground or whatever, alert warnings. And they found that the pilots were far more responsive to a female voice
Well, they got
than
that.
they were
They
to a
got
male
that
voice.
in the movies now. You know, the movies all do that with the female voice. Is always
All
a
right.
robot.